Once upon a time in a certain village there lived a little country girl. Her mother felt blessed having her, and to her grandmother, that old hag, she was her little icon of the goddess. This good woman had a little Red Riding vestment made for her. It suited the girl so extremely well that everybody called her Nymphora. One day her mother, having made some bread and put it in a bag, said to her, "Go, my dear, and see how your grandmother is doing, for I hear she has been plagued by sickness. Take her a bag with bread, and this little pot of butter." Little Nymphora set out swiftly to go to her grandmother, who lived in another village. As she was going through the forest full of dense trees, she met with a wolf who had been predatoring her, and had a very great mind to devour her up, but he dared not, because of some woodcutters working nearby in the forest. He asked her where she was going. The poor child, who did not know that it was dangerous to stay and talk to a wolf, said to him, "I am going to see my grandmother, carrying her a bag with bread and a little pot of butter from my mother." "Does she live far off?" mockingly said the wolf. "Oh, I say," answered little Nymphora, "it is beyond that secret shop you see there, at the first house near the outpost." "Well," said the wolf, "and I'll go and see her too to give her these sandwiches and bottle of wine. That should sure restore her batteries. I'll go this way and you go that, and we shall see who will be there first." The wolf hasted as quickly as he could towards her place, taking Bottom Lane, and the little girl took a roundabout lane, entertaining herself by gathering runs, running after squirrels, and gathering bouquets of little flowers. It was not long before the wolf arrived at the old hag's house. He hammered at the door. Tap, tap. "Who's there?" "Your grandchild, Nymphora," whispered the wolf to avoid his cover to be blown. "Who has brought you a bag with bread and a little pot of butter sent you by mother?" The good grandmother, who was in bed, because she was somewhat ill, cried out, "Pull the bobbin, and the latch will go up." Her faith was surely doomed. The wolf pulled the bobbin, and the back door opened, and then he swiftly crushed the good woman and devouring her up in a moment, for it had been more than 3 days since he had devoured and he had a mighty hungry spirit. He then shut the back door and got into the grandmother's bed, expecting little Nymphora, his next victim, who came some time afterwards and hammered at the door. Tap, tap. Dark night had settled in with a full moon on the sky. Going back home was out of the question. "Who's there?" Little Nymphora, hearing the mighty voice of the wolf, was puzzled at first, but believing her grandmother, besides being demented, had a cold and was hoarse, answered, "It is your grandchild, little Nymphora, who has brought you a bag of bread and a minor pot of butter mother sent you." The wolf whispered out to her, softening his voice as much as he could, "Pull the bobbin, and the latch will go up," pretending he was grandma, the bastard. Little Nymphora pulled the bobbin, and the back door opened. The wolf, seeing her come in, said to her, hiding himself under the bedclothes, "Put the bag of bread and the little pot of butter upon the stool, and march into bed with me." Little Nymphora took off her vestment and got into bed. She was mighty amazed to see how her grandmother looked in her night clothes, and said to her, "Grandmother, what big hands you have." "All the better to hug you with, my dear." "Grandmother, what big feet you have." "All the better to run with, my child." "Grandmother, what a big skull you have." "All the better to hear with, my muffin." "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "All the better to see with, my sugar bunny." "Grandmother, what big teeth you have got." "All the better to devour you up with." And, saying these words, this bastard wolf charged upon little Nymphora, crushing her skull, slashing her to death and sucking out her heart and brain and devouring her all up. Moral of the story: don't be a knob with Nymphora. Play her careful and cautious. She is easy prey. Now get the fuck out.